is an integral part of our lives. It supports us, raises our children, teaches us love and loss and everything in between. It means so many different things to so many diverse people. But what does community mean to you?
Connectedness,
belonging,
connection,
coming together,
the people around you.
it is something that involves all of us.
Who are you?
My name is Sudhnya Mulye, and I am Indian classical dance instructor, choreographer, and a performer. The dance form that I teach at my academy is Bharatanatyam, which is one of the classical dance style in India. And I've been teaching in our town here for more than now 20 years. And and working through the art form in various ways.
My name's Carol Hansen. I work for Alberta Community and Women's Services. I have been there 13 years and I love my community.
I'm Michael Lee. I'm the MLA for Vancouver-Langara. It's one of the 87 provincial ridings in British Columbia. It goes from 33rd to Marine Drive, Fraser to Granville Street.
Hi everyone, I have the pleasure of interviewing my grade 6 teacher who works in the Vancouver region area, and he taught at my elementary school, J.W. Sexsmith Elementary.
Hi, my name is Dean Morris. I'm from Richmond, and my immediate community is the Steeston community. It's a big part of my life. I've lived here for over 10 years. My kids go to school here. I work right in the village here, so it's kind of where I exist primarily throughout the week.
What is community?
It's the people around you. It's the people that make up your social circle and people outside your social circle. And it's what creates a safe, sound environment. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that can include your school, your community, family. It's a complex thing, community, and it's super, super important.
For me, community is coming together, first of all, as what community we all know. Working together in unity. It's also for me celebration, and it is a helping hand. You get to experience a lot more being in the community. So for me, community is in as I said, a helping hand as well, nurturing moment as well.
I think that community to me in one word would be belonging, because I think that community, if you're part of a community, it means that you are with other people and that you fit in really well. And so to be a part of a community means that you belong to something, and so belonging was my word.
I really believe connection. I think that that's what community is. It's connecting to individuals and it's connecting to groups.
It is something that involves all of us in our school communities, in our neighborhoods, in where we live and work, study. Community is something that is all-encompassing in terms of the roles and responsibilities that we each have. So I think it's very important that we have this ongoing dialogue for more understanding and more ways to work together.
What makes a community special? What makes it strong?
I guess celebrating differences and our similarities as well.
Just showing up. Community doesn't exist in isolation. It just doesn't. So the most important aspect is showing up to stuff, showing up for your friends, for your neighborhood, for the people on your street or in your apartment building or townhouse complex, wherever you live. Just showing up, being present, and being open and willing to engage with people. That's really those are the core ingredients for creating meaningful community.
Today, even with my children, my wife ensured that all of my 3 children went to Chinese school on weekends. Language is very important. We see in other parts of our community where we have cultural celebrations, religious or traditional or otherwise, and that really enriches the community in which we live. When we can see the breadth of community participation and those who feel that they can be very comfortable in celebrating their ethnic heritages. I also think, though, in terms of learning about what Canada is about, that we need to also see our commonality in terms of values, of working hard, striving for greater opportunity for our children, giving opportunity for our young people to create a better future. And I think that ethic really cuts across all of our communities. So there's a lot that we have in common that we need to continue to focus on and bring communities together in. And I think we need to ensure that we have a more tolerant society, one that is supportive of each other, one that's respectful, and one that, as much as we may be different from each other, we also see the common interests and the common benefits from working with each other.
Work, services to help those in need, joining together for celebrations and for things that may not be as much of a celebration but is needed to be done.
For me, the strong community is the one who strives to make a change, because the only thing that is constant is change. So strives hard to make that change. That would be the strongest community.
I think a strong community has to be a place where there's a shared sense of place and values. There has to be belonging and connection between people. And there has to be a real diversity in like our population. So you have to have older people, you have to have young people, you have to have working families, you have to have people, it has to be very inclusive. So you have to have the different genders, the different abilities, and the different cultures. I think that a strong community has to also be very resilient and very vibrant.
Or it's the people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key, is the people in your community are what make your community so great. At our school, my school, Sexsmith, we have such an amazing group of people that make it a welcoming, inclusive, just a phenomenal place to be. And I've been so lucky the last 9 years to be part of that community.
How did your community shape the person you are right now? How might it shape others?
I think that the shaping of my community is being involved. I would say being involved in my community, the broader community, working in youth leadership, organizing youth leadership conferences when I was in university, working with Youth at Risk in Chinatown. Many of them were people who were going to Britannia High School and other schools on the east side of Vancouver, wanting to ensure that we put young people back in the mid-'80s in a positive set of activities on weekends. And so we worked hard with that. You know, those kinds of involvements and working on other issues affecting our community in terms of services for immigrants and for seniors and healthcare, social services, as a member of a community board, Success, Immigrant Social Service Organization, were examples where we all learn more about our roles, but also how there are needs of our community that we want to help with. And so that shaped me a great deal.
I was born in India, and when I was growing up, my mom was the one who initiated me in this dance form. So my community began with her. Her passion for the art that she kind of initiated in me started off with just going for a class or two weekly, and then eventually growing into a huge commitment for my career as well.
I've always had a strong sense of belonging. I've been here since I was 3 years old, so it's very much my community. I have pride in our community, and I believe it made me want to make a difference in a good way. So I believe we are the community with a heart. We've all had times where we've needed extra compassion for whatever is going on in your life, and I feel that the community has given me that, and now I want to give back to the community.
I guess in a sense, I've been working with youth now for like 12 years, so I've heard a lot of different stories from youth. Youth are always shaping, adolescents are always shaping people. Adolescents are very smart, they're extremely intelligent, they're very savvy, and they know what's going on. So teenagers shape from young kids to seniors. But then again, teenagers are still learning themselves, so it's a joint process there. But it's great learning from young people.
Where do youth and age stand in community?
The way that I try to get kids involved is through extracurricular activities. So sports is one that I've always used. I've always used sports, whether it's basketball, volleyball, track. Lunch hour games is a great way for kids to get involved. Indoor soccer, dodgeball. And there's also things like school plays, airband competitions. Now, I do them because, yeah, they're fun to do, but what you're doing is you're getting kids involved and invested into their community. And that's one of the things that you don't figure out until you're a few years into teaching, is you're trying to target not necessarily the ones who already have it. You're targeting the ones who don't have it.
Well, I think younger people are connected first, hopefully, in their school system, in their classrooms, in their schools where they learn, and hopefully participate with the activities. I know that many schools, including the Lord Kitchener, where my children went to elementary school, they learn how to be a good citizen within the school, whether it's as a library monitor, as part of a school cleanup crew, safety crossing guards, as my son was a captain of that. They learned that in terms of sports, in terms of sportsmanship, good fairness of play, the rules of engagement. They learned that in arts and cultural activities, whether it's through a music program or a theater production. My children certainly have benefited from those sorts of activities, and it's very valuable that we have teachers and parents and administrators in our school system that continue to put a real focus on how do we develop community first in our schools.
Predominantly we work with young people in high schools, but we have worked with elementary students. But I would say like 95% of our work starts with grade 8s. And we definitely see, as grade 8s transition throughout the years of high school, so grade 8, grade 9, 10, 11, 12, their community grows, but also they grow within their community. So they form their own autonomy. They form, again, connectedness within their community. So whether that's peer groups, whether that's within their own family dynamics, their voice is being heard, but also as they transition within those grades, they're finding their community. Teenagers, adolescents will branch through many communities or many peer groups until they find the right social connection or the right fitting, per se, of a community.
I don't think dance has any age limit. It's of course natural because, we all know as young kids, they have more flexibility and more time to practice, because anything we learn also needs practice. So it's natural in them. And it's again, it's initiating them to it. They may start off at that age, may continue, or may have to take a gap, but they will come back to it because you have initiated it. Now, having said that, some of them cannot start learning at the young age. But if they are there at the right time, in the right moment, and if they have the heart for it, if they have the passion, they're going to find a way. As we always say, if there is a will, there is a way.
I think your needs change, so your community changes. So, for instance, when you're younger, possibility of more sports and more gatherings would be important, and then as you get older, it would be more about having people to talk to or play games with, or so it's the needs are diverse depending on your age, and I think that a community as a whole needs to address all those, as well as all the different walks of life within a community.
It's so important to have an identity growing up, and it's so important to have to feel that belonging, and having a strong community is essential for kids when they're growing up. It is vital, because if you don't have that sense of community, of strong, good, positive community, kids find it elsewhere, and they often find it where they shouldn't. And that's where kids get lost, and that's where kids make bad decisions, when they don't have that sense of community. And going back to, I guess, what my role was trying to provide a role model, dare I say, of how you should conduct yourself in a community. I know that a positive role model, a positive male role model, is not as prevalent in some communities as I would like it to be. Mm-hmm. And when you don't have it, it's really, really tough. And for kids who don't have that sense of community, that sense of belonging, it can go bad quick.
What aspects affect community?
I would say the most important aspect, I'm just going to go back to something I said before, is just showing up. Community doesn't exist in isolation. It just doesn't. So the most important aspect is showing up to stuff, showing up for your friends, for your neighborhood, for the people on your street or in your apartment building or townhouse complex, wherever you live. Just showing up, being present, and being open and willing to engage with people. That's really those are the core ingredients for creating meaningful community.
I believe inclusiveness, because regardless of individual struggles and challenges, we're all part of the community. So yeah, inclusiveness would be the most important aspect, and that comes along with a lot of other things. That it means caring for people when they're have misfortunes or are addicted, or as well as the people that are at this point contributing to the community, because we all have the ability to contribute, but sometimes it's different times in your life sometimes you have to take more.
What are some goals you have for the future of your community?
My goals for the community is holistic wellness. So what I mean by that is that people would be living lives and living them to the full. They would be healthy, active, engaged human beings. I really believe that each of us has this almost limitless potential to do things that we thought were impossible. I love to run. We lead a run crew here, Steeston Run Crew. If you're a runner, come check us out. But I am always inspired by people who come up, they turn up the first day and they're like, yeah, I'm not really a runner, I can't really do it. And then they go out and they crush, this run that they thought they could never do, or they surprise themselves and can go way faster than they thought. And so I think that each of us, right, that's just one example, but each of us has this potential that is so huge. And I really feel like as a community leader, if I can claim that title for myself, what I would love to see is places and spaces where people can thrive in their environment as who they are, be authentically themselves, and really grow into the things that they're passionate about, and discover things that they never thought they could do, before and see that they're, as a human being, they have so much potential. And if I can be like a cheerleader for people and just say, go out there and do these awesome things, I feel like the community, you know, rises. As every person within a neighborhood or a larger community is doing the thing they're passionate about or doing the thing that they're made to do, that community, that place is where I want to be. That's where I want to live, amongst all these thriving people.
My goals for my community is, dance is my way of connecting to community, and I plan to, and this is how it's my way of giving back to community by starting International Dance Day. Richmond is what the event is called, International Dance Day Richmond. And, you know, every person can do at least one thing. And I think arranging that event, organizing that event, giving free workshops, which brings the community together to celebrate a day, but also celebrate what they love or they would like to do. I think that is my way of connecting to community, because it's not, you cannot just stand up and say, well, now I want to celebrate. It goes, you know, you have to plan. The planning is a lot. Like the whole year, you kind of work, plus the performances that my academy does at different events, multicultural events, or celebrating Indian culture to different festivals. That's my way of giving back to community. When you perform, you share. And when you share, it's like, you know, you give back something to the community to get back something from the community. So when you share, automatically the community also gives you back a lot. They will ask, that creates communication, that creates curiosity, that creates joining hands together, coming together. And you know, for an artist, you say, it's nice to have my audience. But this audience, how do you develop? You cannot just stand up and say, well, I'm performing and come watch me. But unless you don't give back to community, you're never going to.
We're always trying to work on goals, and we're always trying to work on positive goals. So within a again, back to like a high school environment, we're always trying to stay on top of what's happening, trends, and young people's behaviors, which in a sense also shapes high school community, good or bad. So I think Sassy's community is not always changing, but we have to change with community. Our job has to change, good or bad. Again, that's an interesting topic to discuss, and that can go a length in detail, but we can say like young people connect with one community when engaging with like unhealthy decision making. So we need to, Sassy itself needs to work within that community, but then also Sassy needs to, when students are engaged in positive behavior, positive decision making, we're also working within that community as well. But in that sense, like, things change and people branch out, so we're always there for anybody connected and everybody connected within one school environment, which high school environment, McGee, which would be one big massive community.
I would like to see a community where everyone is respected and included, regardless of their circumstances. I would like to see better understanding and a celebration of similarities and differences. I would like to see every person adequately sheltered. I would like to see better ways to treat mental health and addictions and other social issues that are relevant in all communities. It's not just ours, but if I had my dream, we'd be addressing all the social difficulties in the communities.
What are your thoughts on COVID-19 and technology in relation to community?
Yeah, technology is here to stay, and especially in light of what's going on with the last 8 weeks, we're so dependent on technology. And I think what we have to realize as, I guess, leaders in our community is we need to incorporate technology into our community. rather than try to push it to the side or make it go away. It's here to stay. So it's important that we find the right way for people to connect on technology, and we need to find a way for it to be safe. And
Yeah.
I really feel like, this is the most collective worldwide effort to look out for each other. I mean, the whole world has shut down and everyone's staying inside to keep really and truly a smaller percentage of the population safe. That is unprecedented. That has never happened, where we have said, we're going to shut down the economy, we're going to shut down school, we're going to shut down, life in general, because we need to keep these people safe. And it's absolutely the right thing to do. And we're making a difference. The curve is flattening. We still have a ways to go. At 7 o'clock every night, you hear people banging pots and pans because they are supporting the frontline workers who are, putting their lives in the line every night, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. So I've seen so much positive, and I've been shocked by all the positive that I've seen. The negative is going to happen. That's the way the world works. And nothing you can do about that, but they're a small part of the problem. So I've been pleased with how the world's reacted.
That's, again, a really great question, because I'm sure that you've noticed how it's changed, because you can't go to school and you can't play with your friends and those kind of things. You can't see your grandma and grandpa. And so I think that it's made us become a little bit stronger and maybe a little bit more united and aware. I think it's basically made us have to depend on each other more. And I think it's also made us realize how important small businesses are to our community. So, for example, all the little stores, etc., right up the street from me on Esteban, they've all had to close their doors. So how do we support them? So as a community, we've had to come together to rally to try and support those businesses, so that when the COVID-19 crisis is over, that those businesses are still there. Because if those businesses aren't there when the crisis is over, we don't have that part of our community anymore. So we lose that part of our community. I think that people are looking out more for their neighbors and the vulnerable people in the community. And people are meeting more of their neighbors on the street, because people tend to be staying closer to home now. And so people aren't going off to work in the morning and not coming home till late at night. People are more kind of in their space around their house, and so they might meet more of their neighbors. I think it's also made us realize how important certain things are within our community as far as essential services. So, for example, we would take for granted perhaps going to the grocery store and being able to buy groceries whenever we wanted and at whatever time we wanted. And now it's a harder thing to go and buy groceries. And think of the people who are working in those grocery stores. Those people have now become such important people in our lives, because if they're not there, we aren't able to go and buy groceries. So these are people who perhaps are paid one of the lowest wages in our society, and yet they're the ones that we're depending on. So how do we change our opinion of those people, and how do we fight for those people to get perhaps paid more in the future when all of this is over as well?
For me, certainly the performances have now moved online, which I feel has connected me to the wider community that I may not have thought about or may not have reached because of the routine that I was following. So this, yes, it certainly affects, because you enjoy performing on stage, being in, I teach online now, which is also neat, thanks to our technology, that even today that we both are able to have this communication. And I certainly miss on having that personal touch. But it would have been, I look at the other side, it would have been really sad that I would have never seen them, my students. That would have been more sad than at least I get to see them online, and their education hasn't yet stopped. They're still learning. I recently even celebrated International Dance Day in my academy online, in each one of them in their own house, got dressed up and they performed. And what I realized is, when they would come and learn from me in a bigger space, the expectations were going in a different direction. Oh, I don't have space, I can't perform now. And now, all of a sudden, in the given space, they all are able to perform, which I used to always talk to them. You know what? In any given spot, if your audience is ready to watch you, you should be able to perform. And I think they're learning a lot through this experience too. This is giving them a way to think, because some of them may have the space, some of them don't have the space. If they have the space, it's some of them are performed in the kitchen. Now, will you ever think of performing in your kitchen or in your garage? You wouldn't. But now they're not thinking of space. They're more connected to the dance. So for me, this is an opportunity to give them the other side of what is really dance to you. How passionate are you? Are you only worried about the outside world when you're performing, or are you really connected from your heart to it? So has it really changed? Yes, it has changed. The medium of my platform has changed, but it hasn't changed in a way where the passion is gone or their connection to the art form is gone. For International Dance Day, I never get to perform myself, but this year I got a chance. I perform myself in my backyard, and there's a video of me dancing, because as an organizer, you're running around so much to get things done that, yes, I have an opportunity of watching lovely, wonderful performers and from different cultures. Do I get to perform? Not really in my own event. So this year I felt, well, this is my chance to the event that I always organize.
Do you have any thoughts to leave us with?
Community is so important. I urge anybody watching this, get involved in your community. It's not maybe the coolest thing from your eyes when you're 15, 16, 17. It is such a massive benefit, down the road, and you won't regret it.
The platform has changed, but I don't think the intentions or the passion has changed.
I think that the community has become stronger, and I think that we're going to become more appreciative of each other and the things that we have.
Young people to young adults to even adults and children, when finding community, are connected.
Thank you for letting me interview you.
Thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.